Amberlynn Reid is one of the most controversial weight loss YouTubers of all time. Originally starting her weight loss journey in 2014, this journey has gone on for over a decade now, and by the 2020s, Amberlynn had actually gained around 200 pounds in weight during this weight loss journey. And naturally, this story fascinated a lot of people out there. General audiences who don't even know who Amberlynn is have watched multiple videos covering the topic of Amberlynn Reid's weight gain whilst on this weight loss journey. Most people ask the question of, is this all real? Is this all a bit for attention? Is Amberlynn Reid a secret genius playing the system? Or is this an extremely tragic story where somebody fell victim to the YouTube algorithm, which ultimately led to a decade of drama, controversy, exposés, and never-ending cancellations? And well, honestly, there really isn't a fundamental answer to a lot of these questions, but I have actually been covering Amberlynn Reid for around 5 years on my own YouTube channel. As you see here, I was telling this story over half a decade ago about the weight loss YouTuber who gains 200 pounds. But since I uploaded that video, it kind of feels like the trajectory of Amberlynn Reid's story and saga and everything has just changed completely. What originally started off as a story to do with somebody's weight loss turned into a drama surrounding somebody gaining weight, which then turned into another controversy and then another million different controversies. It kind of feels that for the last 6 years, Amberlynn Reid has just been doing something every single week where she is just getting involved in yet again more situations and more drama. But things particularly heated up in the year of 2024 for Amberlynn. As you see, she was going through something known as the Amberlynn Reid feeder saga. In this saga, pretty much Amberlynn was exposed for dating someone who had been found on a feeder-based website. Which, to put it into YouTube TOS terms here, is pretty much somebody that has a bit of an enjoyment for somebody of a larger body type, but not necessarily the regular type of enjoyment, but a type of enjoyment where they like that body type so much that they actually take somebody of, well, a skinnier weight and they feed them lots of food so they get to a certain weight that's, you know, meets their desires. And there are websites out there where you can meet these individuals, whether you are looking to have a burger put into your mouth or whether you are looking to be the person placing that burger into Sorry, but yes, Amberlynn's partner was found on one of these websites. And this was a big controversy because people were worried that Amberlynn was now going to fall victim to somebody who was going to put her health in even more jeopardy. At this point, Amberlynn Reid weighs around 500 pounds, so naturally people were very worried about the fact that Amberlynn was dating someone who had a particular interest that really would damage Amberlynn's health. But things did not end there, because a big reason people were particularly worried about Amberlynn with this new person she was dating called Tommy is that this person was also previously dating somebody who was a 700 pounds woman who passed away recently from health complications. Now, I'm not going to go into vast details about this situation, but yes, Amberlynn's new girlfriend had an ex who had passed away, and they were a very, very heavy weight. This person had featured on television shows, and in particular, they were well known for their weight. And pretty much, the story kind of started to align with Amberlynn Reid. Amberlynn is somebody who is known for being a very large weight and trying to lose the weight, and now she had met someone who may possibly make her life even worse. And naturally, because of this, the drama started to explode. Videos were made about it, people were talking about it, the general community surrounding Amberlynn Reid were just overall extremely worried for what the future held for Amberlynn Reid's new relationship. But the thing is this relationship wasn't like your regular relationship of where, you know, you go through that beginning stage of where it's the honeymoon phase, you know, you're getting to know each other even more, and it's a really nice time where you're taking things slow. No, Amberlynn Reid was not taking things slow. She pretty much immediately uprooted her life, moved across country, taking all of her pets and belongings to go move in with this individual called Tommy, and naturally because of that, more and more people were getting concerned. With Tommy and Amberlynn living together, who knows what would happen? Then on the 19th of November, more disaster struck as Amberlynn's cat went missing, and pretty much more criticism directed towards Amberlynn came from this because people were stating that Amberlynn had carelessly moved across state, taking her animals to a new place. She was careless with where they could be and what they were doing, and she allowed her cat to go missing in a state that she did not live in. And just in general, everything was just collapsing around Amberlynn at this point of time. And with this, she pretty much went to war with her audience. She was accused of using the cat situation to defend Tommy, stating how great Tommy is in a video of where she was speaking about how her and Tommy were trying to find a cat. There was some criticism for being irresponsible and filming videos rather looking for the cat. And just in general, this was becoming a disaster. This was no longer a story about weight loss and weight gain, but this was just pure and utter chaos, and the story only continued to go downhill. There were more allegations, there were more crash outs. Amberlynn is brokenhearted. Amberlynn is done with weight loss for a 50th time. And now we are in 2025, and in today's video, what I really want to do is just kind of come to an understanding of how we actually got in the position of where we currently are with Amberlynn Reid. I want to take a look at what is known as the Amberlynn Reid cycle, of where real situations are constantly used for rage bait and drama, but these are still at the same time real situations, and there are a lot of ethical dilemmas surrounding Amberlynn Reid. But ultimately, I want to explore the fact that at this point of time in April or March, whenever you're watching this, of 2025, it very much seems that Amberlynn Reid has pretty much lost everything, and her career or any future career has just been outright destroyed by her own previous actions, but also some of her recent actions where Amberlynn has been exposed left, right and centre. But before we get into any of the madness today, I do just want to take a moment to pause and speak about the madness of March. It's that time of the year, you know, where things start functioning again. The sun has actually come out for the first time in 4 months, the birds are chirping, and everyone is just kind of preparing for the summer. It's a very intrusive and busy and stressful month, and it just kind of feels like everything is particularly loud this month. Well, at least it did before I discovered something in particular. And that is where I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, Everyday Earbuds by Raycon. Because with Raycon Everyday Earbuds, all of the distractions of March and the world will be drowned out, and you can just focus on whatever you are doing. And honestly, my friends, that does just come down to the fact that Everyday Earbuds by Raycon does just have amazing noise isolation technology. For example, you know when you're in the gym just lifting some weights and listening to music, or doing some cardio and watching a TV show, Raycon Everyday Earbuds just in general will drown out all of the sounds surrounding you and give you such a better listening experience. Because it may not look like it, but I am actually somebody that likes to keep on top of my health, and the gym is a very important thing to me, and thanks to Raycon Everyday Earbuds, my workout sessions in general have just been so much better recently, mainly due to the fact that the noise isolation technology is just fantastic. But in the context to that, what makes this even better is Raycon Everyday Earbuds are also sweat-proof, which doesn't necessarily mean, you know, you have to only use them in the gym, but, you know, you could be sweating out on a video game, and you could be using Raycon Everyday Earbuds and just have an amazing experience because the sound quality is fantastic, the noise isolation is fantastic, and just in general you will have a much better immersive experience with Raycon Everyday Earbuds. And with Raycon's intelligent designed earbuds being modified through countless iterations for comfortable, secure fit, I can also guarantee that they will not fall out of your ears. But it doesn't end there, my friends, because I haven't even mentioned the best part about Raycon Everyday Earbuds. Because you see, with the latest model, the battery life is better than ever, where you will get up to 32 hours battery life and multi-point connectivity that will let you pair 2 devices at once. But also, Raycon also offers a quick charge function which will give you a 90-minute charge in 10 minutes of charging. And just in general, all round, Raycon Everyday Earbuds are just amazing, and I've been using them for a good while now, and I can just confirm to you that every single time I use them, I'm so impressed by the high performance features and just in general the quality of these earbuds. But aside from the amazing features and performance, Raycon clearly understands that affordability fundamentally is one of the most important things when it comes to purchasing any product. And that's why right now you can go to buyraycon.com/iNabber to get 20% off the best-selling everyday earbuds brought to you by Raycon. Thank you so much to Raycon for sponsoring this video. I promise you, you will not regret picking up a pair of these. Now, Amberlynn's descent into losing everything has certainly been a very slow but steady progression since 2016. In the original days of around 2016 to 2019, there were certainly controversies surrounding Amberlynn, but ultimately, these were minor controversies. She had gained weight, she had lost weight, she was starting a new diet. These were like the original introductory controversies surrounding Amberlynn. I think if you've been on my channel for a very long time, you will remember my videos of where, when I spoke about Amberlynn Reid, it was just specifically about the weight loss related drama, and a few people back then would say to me, "Hey Fraser, have you heard about this thing?" And it would lead me down rabbit holes where I would find out information about Amberlynn Reid, which I didn't even know about, and I cover these types of topics for a living. And then we get to 2025, where, as you saw in the introduction, things have just gotten absolutely insane. And one big thing to point out in the downfall of Amberlynn Reid is a key thing of Amberlynn seems to fail with every relationship or friendship that she has. There are so many characters known in this Amberverse, and no matter whether they're friends with Amberlynn Reid or not, you can guarantee by the end of the story, they will have at one point of time been an enemy or still are an enemy of Amberlynn Reid. For example, it kind of feels like it's going down that way with Amberlynn's current partner, or now former partner, Tommy. As recently, Tommy was actually exposed as one of her dating pages was leaked on an app where you can create a profile to find people who are into particularly weird things. And in this case, it seemed that this was a profile where Tommy could find other people who she could, well, buy food for. Because as you can see in the description here, it states they are a member of fat admiration, feederism, and weight gain. Which obviously, my friends, is a bit of a problem because Amberlynn Reid, as I mentioned before, had pretty much just outright denied everything to do with this whole feeder saga. If you watched my previous video about everything that went on there, you would have seen multiple videos of where Amberlynn came out defending herself, stating, no, Tommy's just somebody that prefers a certain body type. Yes, that's just what she caters to, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she's a feeder, right?
No, she is not a feeder. People think that she's a feeder, and she's definitely not that. Like, yes, she has a specific type, but I'm letting you guys know that, like, every single person that I've been in a relationship with, everyone that you guys have known, they said that they prefer girls my size. That is a thing that all of my partners have had in common. I am really big, and I wouldn't see someone who prefers, like, smaller girls to be in a relationship with me. That probably would never happen. To be a feeder is a completely different topic. A feeder versus someone who prefers bigger girls, two completely different things, and she is not that. She is not a feeder. I would never in a million years be in a relationship with one.
Now, personally, I don't see a problem with what Amberlynn is really describing here. If Tommy was into the body type that Amberlynn was describing, you know, I don't think that that's exactly an issue. But the problem would get into, well, if it was to go down into feeder territory of where you are deliberately getting somebody larger and larger and larger, then, well, I think people have the right to be concerned. Not necessarily just for Amberlynn's well-being, but just also because I don't necessarily think this is something that should be popularized. This is a thing which can, you know, definitely harm somebody's health. And at the end of the day, you know, whilst I think you should respect anybody of any body size, and it's not your place to speak on if somebody's big or small, you have the right to say, hey, I don't think it's a good idea to popularize the idea of making people deliberately get bigger just because you're attracted to that body type. I think that's really bad, really weird, and ultimately very, very dangerous. Because as we saw earlier, Tommy, Amberlynn's current or previous now girlfriend, was dating somebody before who passed away, and they were 700 pounds in weight. Now, I don't mean to come on here and be disrespectful towards that individual. It is an absolutely tragic thing that happened there, and I'm not trying to come off like I'm belittling them, but you have to put two and two together. You have to realize that you have somebody on feeder websites who is dating somebody very, very, you know, a very high weight, and they passed away from health complications. situations, it's going to lead to questions. It's going to lead to people naturally jumping to very obvious conclusions. But yes, it is very interesting to see Amberlynn deny all of these things, considering, well, now we know that Tommy actually does have accounts on these types of websites where she can meet people that are into, well, the same thing. It was very clear that Amberlynn was once again lying to the world about this situation. But again, this is just what Amberlynn does in every single example, every single drama, saga, situation. She will just make the drama get worse by so obviously lying to the camera. At the end of the day, I don't really think Amberlynn would have had this story out there if she didn't make a million videos speaking about this situation, but as you'll discover from my feeder video or just looking at Amberlynn's channel, she made multiple videos speaking about this saga and popularizing the topic surrounding it. Directly making Tommy's life worse. Now, obviously, I am critical towards Tommy with what they do or what they've been accused of doing, but at the end of the day, this is just another example of how Amberlynn destroys her relationships and friendships and has gotten to the point of where she no longer really has anything. Amberlynn will see a little comment on Reddit of somebody suggesting even a mere bit of drama, and she will immediately run to her YouTube channel to make a video about it in every single situation, and that leads to the people in her life getting involved in this drama because Amberlynn pulls all of them in, and it obviously eventually leads to them leaving her life because they can no longer handle all of this drama and controversy, which you're going to see happened recently yet again, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, in every single situation Amberlynn's ever been involved in, she just makes things a million times worse for herself by jumping on camera, making obvious lies, and then being exposed for those lies around a day later, which yeah, happened multiple times in this feeder saga.
I am not a feedie. I am not in a feeder relationship. That is not what's happening.
So yes, obviously, given what we've gone through, that absolutely has not aged well, and it really only upped the controversy and drama surrounding Amberlynn. People were angry. They've been lied to once again by Amberlynn Reid. They had a right to be concerned about these things, and as I said earlier, I don't necessarily think it's more worry for Amberlynn Reid. I think a lot of it is just frustration around these topics and how Amberlynn handles them, and how people don't want something like this to be popularized because it can be incredibly harmful. And look, I'm not stupid. I know that a lot of people, if not the majority of people who regularly consume content surrounding Amberlynn Reid, aren't exactly wanting, a redemption story for Amberlynn Reid. Let's be real. A lot of people are preying on this woman's downfall. It's a fundamental fact, and I think if you deny it, you are absolutely lying to yourself. And I do think there are some moralistic issues surrounding that. When I did my iceberg video speaking about all of the controversies to do with Amberlynn, around half of the controversies in that iceberg, I basically came to the conclusion of this really doesn't mean anything and I don't understand why people are mad at Amberlynn Reid. But you see, the problem is, even in situations where Amberlynn is actually in the right and is being unfairly taken out of context, or is just in general being unfairly criticized in bad faith, Amberlynn only makes things a million times worse. She either addresses the situation terribly by getting angry and crying on camera, or she just outright makes lies for no reason, or just attacks other individuals who aren't even involved in the situation directly. There are multiple times that Amberlynn Reid has gone through this. You can look at any Amberlynn Reid exposed video out there, and this will just happen time and time again. And the cycle really only continues with that of Amberlynn just making her life worse and worse and worse, even when she is in the right. It's almost like an impossible paradox to escape. And what's confusing about all of this is I don't really understand realistically why she does anything. Like, she doesn't get much out of this. She surely can't really improve her general life by doing this. Sure, there are views, but making videos about all the negative things that she does surrounding herself, surely this will just popularize these stories even more and get general audiences who didn't even know about these stories hooked into these stories and eventually becoming part of the community that regularly consume negative Amberlynn Reid content. It eventually just leads to those individuals falling down rabbit holes and discovering a large amount of horrible truths surrounding Amberlynn. And despite how terrible that sounds, imagine there's a group of people out there constantly viewing everything that you were doing on the internet. Surely your first mentality and first instance to how to respond to that would be, I'm not going to give them anything. I'm not going to, put content out there every single day where, it's not negative. There's nothing to criticize and they'll eventually just leave. But no, Amberlynn does the opposite, and you can really only come to the conclusion that this is like some weird parasitic relationship where Amberlynn just absolutely loves the attention. The whole thing is like a really, as I said, messed up paradox, and this paradox has been happening since 2016. Originally, we had this sweet, innocent YouTuber, and now she's just become something which it's hard to understand and describe. It almost does feel that with how crazy all of these stories are, that everyone in this saga and Amberverse is just in on everything. Ghoulworld or Girlworld is the name of the community and saga surrounding Amberlynn for the last 10 years. And just when you read into stuff very briefly, it does just feel like everything here is just scripted and fake. But the amazingly disturbing thing is it's all real. Like, for example, in December 2024, it really did seem that Amberlynn was going through the worst phase of her life, or at least YouTube career. She was posting videos with titles such as, "This is all becoming too much, I've gained weight, I had to call 911, I can't believe this happened, addressing everything, my heart is broken." If I uploaded one of these videos, I think a lot of you would be worried for me. But if I uploaded all of these videos in a back-to-back space of around a month, I think you would all be generally quite concerned for my well-being, and maybe one of you would, call a wellness check on me. By the way, don't do that for Amberlynn Reid, but, I think a lot of people out there would be concerned if any other YouTuber posted these things. But the fact of the matter is this isn't the worst time in Amberlynn Reid's life. If anything, this is actually a good time in Amberlynn's life. Because whilst these situations are all seemingly somewhat absolutely real, at the end of the day, Amberlynn was getting views and clicks, and more views and clicks than usual. Because by posting videos like this, it does just bring in the audience of people that want to criticize her, given all of the bad things that Amberlynn has done over the years. And it's kind of confusing because by doing that, you would kind of think to yourself that Amberlynn Reid is playing into the art of rage bait, where she is deliberately taking a fake story and publicizing it to the world so she can enrage people into clicking on her videos and giving her views. But it's not that. Like, for an example of rage bait on YouTube, Jake Paul was famously a content creator that basically popularized that type of genre. He was seen as a terrible person who would do anything in the name of getting views. But at least when you saw those videos, if you were a grown adult, you could kind of understand that nearly everything in those videos was fake and deliberately made for attention. Whereas Amberlynn, whilst it is rage bait, these things are all real. She is still showing her life, her real life, on a day-to-day basis. But she's just like monetizing the pure tragedy surrounding it. And it's definitely one of the strangest business ventures I think I've ever seen. And if you ever needed an example of a way to criticize capitalism, it would be, there are people on YouTube that have careers dedicated to monetizing their absolutely terrible lives. For example, My Heart is Broken got 70,000 views, whereas a regular video has 40,000 views. But again, it isn't like these things are just fake rage bait for the sake of content purposes. No, in this video, Amberlynn is actually devastated and heartbroken, and she is speaking about her cat that she recently lost, that I mentioned earlier, in a situation where she was receiving a lot of criticism. And in that video, she is basically in complete hysterics.
She just wanted to venture out. I know, she just wanted to see. No, like, I don't know where the she is, and it's been just like literally sorry
Now, regardless of the general public's opinion on Amberlynn Reid, this ultimately is a very sad event that has taken place here. Yes, her cat has escaped, it's gone missing, and yeah, there is criticism directed towards her that I think is absolutely right in Amberlynn uprooted her life and moved to another state so she can live with her feeder girlfriend Tommy. Yet at the same time, you should acknowledge that yes, Amberlynn Reid is definitely devastated and upset. But again, it's the weird thing of she has only uploaded this video for content purposes, knowing that this would get a lot of clicks, knowing that this would enrage viewers. She knew that there were people out there criticizing her, rightly so at that point of time, yet she still made this video, and it was a success for her because in terms of views, it did better than a regular normal vlog. And it's hilarious because even this business venture that Amberlynn goes with, even if you're criticizing it like I am right now, you are I am playing into this business venture. Amberlynn probably loves the fact that there are people out there making videos on her and criticizing her, because it's just going to continuously drive attention towards her. And then you get into the moralistic debate of, well, should we even criticize Amberlynn? Should we even speak about Amberlynn? And I actually think, funnily enough, you should speak about Amberlynn Reid and you should criticize her if you want to, because she is still doing these things. She has still uprooted her life to live with a feeder who she lied about, and she has still irresponsibly lost her cat and is making a video rather than looking for that cat. So yes, you should criticize her, but it is this weird cycle and paradox of, at the same time you shouldn't. It is insane, and it is like an ultimate victory, but at the same time not, because you know she has a very tragic life. But it works. As I said, that video that she made got 3,000 comments off 70,000 views. Now let's take my video about the feeder saga and compare it to the comments I got on that video, which was 1,600 comments. That is an absolutely insane ratio in comparison. To get over 3,000 comments on a video with 70,000 views would show an extremely healthy YouTube channel where people are watching the whole thing, paying attention, and giving you money. And what's strange is there just isn't really an answer to what the solution is. It's more that we just kind of have to watch the Titanic sink. It's a never-ending cycle, and even right now, if you were to go to your search bar, whether you're watching this video in 2025 or 2028, I'm sure if you search Amberlynn Reid, you will find that this week there has been another controversy and drama surrounding Amberlynn. Even with things such as the main original topic surrounding Amberlynn Reid, her weight loss, there is still controversy and drama surrounding that. The woman who was on a weight loss journey and gained 200 pounds. Even in 2025, over 10 years later, she is making videos like this, which would obviously create drama. Because Amberlynn gaining weight is always something that gets views, it gets attention, and it makes people enraged, and she absolutely knows that. But then consider that this video was made in the midst of the feeder saga, and then consider that this video was made in the midst of December, which, as Amberlynn says, is a lovely time known as...
Hello, welcome to a new Vlogmas day.
Yes, it was Vlogmas, and if you don't know what Vlogmas is, pretty much it is a time of the year where YouTubers upload a lot of videos in the name of the Christmas spirit. Well, actually, no, it's more in the name of the fact that in December, YouTube CPM is basically double what it usually is, and that basically means that advertisers are increasing their advertising spend on YouTube, and YouTubers are going to benefit from that by basically making a lot more money. So you will probably see a lot of your favorite content creators uploading a lot more videos in YouTube than they would usually upload on the average day-to-day month. Day-to-day month? Month-to-month month. But yes, with that information, come back to this video about gaining weight and you look at it in a completely different perspective. But what's weird is Amberlynn, she had gained weight. You see scales in most of her videos about weight gain, and yes, she had gained weight, so it was a legitimate thing. But she knew uploading that would get attention, and it's like, again, the paradox just continues. For example, on Vlogmas Day 8, she uploaded a video titled I'm Done, and rather this being, well, a vlog, seeing as it's Vlogmas, this is just Amberlynn Reid sat in her chair crying for 8 minutes because she had lost her cat, which again is real. But you know that this was for rage bait and for content. It's like real, deliberate, real story-based rage bait. It's confusing.
This whole thing has been absolutely heartbreaking for me in more ways than one. I have lost a fur baby that I considered, you know, my daughter. Like, I can't have real children. That was taken from me when I was diagnosed with cancer. My fur babies are like my kids, and I love them. Have I been perfect? No. I was never taken care of as a kid. I was never taught normal things. So when I started raising 3 fur babies of my own, that was a big change for me. I have never and would never do anything to hurt them or to make their existence harder. I have tried everything I can to love them and care for them because they are ultimately my world. And I love them so much. Like, you guys have no idea. Like, I think that's why this bothers me so much, is because they're like one part of me that has been constant. They're my family. They're like truly my family.
Now, I won't lie to you, I may be coming off a little bit mean right now, but it does kind of feel like she's kind of trying to squeeze out a tear there. It very much does kind of see that she's trying to cry, but just nothing's coming out. Don't go to acting school anytime soon. They're not even going to accept you. But yes, she was, I guess, somewhat upset. You know, this is a tragedy. Again, her cat has gone missing, but she's once again making another video about something that she knows her audience cared about and were enraged about because they were critical over the fact that Amberlynn was not looking for her cat enough and was not taking enough responsibility for her actions. But by making this video, it once again worked for her and benefited her YouTube career. But at the same time, this would just contribute to more and more stress and turmoil in her life. Look at this comment section. I don't think anyone would want any part of this, and as you're going to discover further in this video, this does have direct implications on any of her future and previous relationships. But I thought I should also just say that not every video that Amberlynn uploads is definitely always going to be clickbait, but it does definitely feel that during Vlogmas, if Amberlynn didn't have anything to do in her vlog that day, she would just sit on her camera, try to force tears out, and speak about something that she knows would enrage her audience and getting clicks and getting drama. But looking back on things in a type of retrospective on all my previous videos surrounding Amberlynn Reid, it's not like this business practice is anything new. If anything, Amberlynn has been doing this for a very, very long time and very deliberately. As I said at the beginning of this video, the original topic surrounding Amberlynn Reid was of course her weight loss. And with that, since 2016, Amberlynn has been in controversy for gaining weight, losing weight, and just in general clickbaiting so much to do with diets over the last decade, and it very much does seem that that was the original time Amberlynn put this business practice into, well, practice, and she is still doing it to this day. Because yeah, 5 years ago there were videos about Amberlynn Reid's failed dieting, and even to this day Amberlynn is still posting about gaining weight whilst also making diet related content where she's using Ozempic, and then a few weeks later she's making content surrounding how she's quitting Ozempic. And this is what's known as the Amberlynn Reid diet cycle, of where she'll start a new diet, it's going amazing, then she'll gain weight, then she'll quit the diet, and then she'll jump onto a new diet. And it's interesting to see that I was speaking about that in 2019 and she's still doing it 6 years later in 2025, and if anything, it's working for her. But again, this is all real. Amberlynn Reid is destroying her health and life with this content cycle. Whether it's physical or mental health, both are coming at the cost of this type of business practice that Amberlynn puts into her YouTube channel. And whilst I do believe that Amberlynn definitely does have struggles in her life, at the same time, you can understand why so many people are critical of her. You can see why she has developed this relationship with an audience of people that absolutely despise her and everything that she does. I'm not trying to justify everything that's been put towards Amberlynn's way. agree. I think there have been some absolutely heinous and horrible things directed towards her, but at the end of the day, this woman does not help herself in any case, and if anything, she only tries to make the flames surrounding her bigger and bigger. Like, I'm not joking, come back to this video in a year's time and I promise you, on the week that you're watching this video or the month that you're watching this video, Amberlynn Reid will be uploading videos about, oh, I tried this new diet, and then a few weeks later, she will be uploading videos about how she's gained weight and how she's now quitting the diets. It's just the cycle, which again, it's a paradox. It's real, she has done these things, but it's also not real, and it is just this big mess, which is the Amberlynn Reid cycle, and it is just clearly destroying this woman's life. And at this point, it does just kind of feel that Amberlynn's life has hit rock bottom. Putting aside the fairly empathetic takes that I've had towards her throughout this video, things have recently gotten even more serious, and whilst this part is a bit topical in a video that I kind of want to be a bit more of a retrospective video, I think it's just a fine representation of everything to do with Amberlynn, because as I said, there are reasons to criticize her in terms of moralistic things. There are things that people go overboard on, but in some cases, Amberlynn just makes herself out to be a bit of a supervillain, and again, never helps herself. Because in February of 2025, Amberlynn Reid was accused of stealing her ex-partner's inheritance, which obviously would be an absolutely heinous and disgusting and despicable and irredeemable thing to do if that was true. And now allow me to give you a bit of a backstory here. Now, Amberlynn's ex is someone known as Beck, and recently, Beck came back to content creation in February 2025, and a large amount of their content was surrounding their relationship that they once had with Amberlynn Reid years ago. And with this came a lot of streams, a lot of videos, which I'm not going to go into because I do want to keep this as a big retrospective video, but again, this is just, you know, your more recent example of Amberlynn doing terrible things or being exposed and making things worse for herself. But yeah, there were a lot of videos and streams, and in these streams, basically to summarize what Amberlynn was being accused of, was things surrounding financial control, withholding emotional support, in general being isolating and having controlling behavior emotionally towards Beck, and being neglectful in pretty much every single situation where Beck was upset and crying. Apparently there was constant intimidation, and also the feeling that Beck was trapped into a caregiver role rather than just a relationship. Overall, things seem to be extremely toxic. And bearing in mind, these are the things stated before even the inheritance topic comes into things, but obviously, yeah, these are some pretty terrible things to learn about any content creator out there, and I think we've all seen, you know, your favorite content creator get called out for something, whether it's true or whether it's not. What usually happens in these situations is the response is always the most important thing, where it really will kind of, you know, represent who that person truly is as a human being. And Amberlynn, you know, she did that in this situation. She got onto Instagram and she responded. Well, I'd say she responded. It more kind of seems that she crashed out than anything.
So I've not been with them in almost 5 years. I am a completely different person than I was then. And I'm sure Beck is also a different person than they were then.
Now, regardless of what is true in the situation and what is not true, the defense of I am a different person now in response to any allegation out there is never a good response, because yes, you can grow and you can change, but ultimately at the end of the day, you could have possibly done a lot of harm onto somebody in the past, and you should take responsibility for that, regardless of if you've changed or whether you're a better person now. Maybe Amberlynn is a better person, maybe some bad things did take place in this relationship, but I've never really been a big fan of the argument of, well, I'm a different person to who I was, you know, years ago. Because what if somebody committed a crime and their argument to the judge is, oh, yeah, sorry about that, judge, I'm different now, I go to church. It's never really a valid argument, in my opinion, in any situation. Because at the end of the day, I think we've all done something negative in our lives where you regret it literally the moment after you've done that thing. Yes, you regret it. Yes, you'd probably go back in time and change things if you could, but at the end of the day, you've committed whatever act you've done there. I'm not talking about illegal things here, by the way. You could have just emotionally hurt someone, which isn't a crime. People do it. And, you know, you could regret that. And even if you have changed and learnt from it, you still have to take responsibility for your actions. And with this introduction to Amberlynn's response, obviously people saw her as someone trying to deflect from these situations and somebody who clearly hasn't actually changed.
Nothing was perfect. And I'm going to let you know that some of the things that Beck has said has been true, and some of the things have been flat out lies. No matter what I say, if I defend myself or not, people will choose to believe Beck. That is the way my whole YouTube career has gone. It's not going to be any different now.
Now, what she's saying here also is definitely true. Something that I've noticed with Amberlynn is no matter what the situation is, whatever the controversy is, whether she's right or whether she's wrong, it really is impossible for her to get out of any of these situations. But that isn't just this thing that happened randomly one day on a Tuesday afternoon. That comes from years and years of Amberlynn doing bad things, getting herself involved into situations, being exposed for lying, manipulating, being deceitful, and naturally her audience no longer trust her. And Amberlynn, I think you need to ask yourself the question of why. Why do people no longer trust you, even if you are in any situation where you actually aren't in the wrong? Ask yourself, why do people no longer trust you? Because you'll then go down a path of self-discovery where you realize your entire career is based off you rage baiting real situations, using them for exploitative purposes to get more and more money. And naturally with that, no one is going to trust you.
So, I would rather people believe every single thing that they said just to protect my mental health from having to defend myself to a bunch of people who already have their opinion made up. Would rather come clean about the stuff that's true than like sit there and like defend myself over the stuff that isn't true.
So yeah, this response, it didn't exactly go down well with the general populace of the Amberlynn Reid community, or Gore World, or Amberverse, whatever you want to call it. People kind of just saw this as deflecting from all the serious things said, and just Amberlynn Reid not taking any responsibility whilst pretending to grow and change in these situations. But what's even more interesting is this message here that Amberlynn put into a live stream chat. Now what she says here is that she actually didn't watch the videos that Becky made, and that she said that her friend called her a liar for what she said in the video to Amberlynn. Wait, so you've made a statement saying that she lied about certain things, and you're saying that your friend called her a liar, but you didn't watch the video. Now, this is exactly what I mean about not everything being rage bait and deliberately for attention with Amberlynn Reid. This is a prime example of that, and shows that Amberlynn Reid is a very immature person who is very manipulative. She got onto her Instagram story, called Becky a liar for everything, but well, not everything, but for some things, and she didn't even know what she was calling lies. And it's very deceitful, and if anything, it just makes Amberlynn Reid the liar in this situation. But after facing more controversy for all of this, she eventually made a video responding, again titled "Responding to Beck, Gaining More Weight, Grocery Haul Vlog." And yeah, this was again another very weird response that was not taken well, because it starts off as a vlog and then like halfway through it becomes an apology video. And again, I don't know if this is deliberate rage bait. Maybe this is another example of her just doing things out of pure stupidity, or just a representation of who she is as a person. That's up for you, the viewer, to decide. But yeah, let's take a look.
Some of the things that Beck is saying is actually leaving me so shocked. And I'm more than willing to take accountability and admit where I was wrong literally 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and 7 years ago. Like, it's been so long since we've been together, and I'm just not the same person as I was. I think it's very apparent. Beck is responding to things where like I was at like a very vulnerable state. Things that we went through together, like having to do with my mobility and things like that, like that's not okay, like sharing those types of things. I understand wanting to like share like in the ways that I might have mistreated you as a girlfriend, which I wasn't the greatest girlfriend back then. I can 100% like take accountability in that. But I think bringing up like my mobility issues, lying about certain things, exaggerating to make certain things seem way worse than what they were. And like answering questions that genuinely have nothing to do with like sharing your side of the story. And it's more so just, for the lack of a better term, it just feels like a bunch of people just sitting there talking shit. How I feel doesn't matter. I'm not going to defend myself towards the lies, but I will take accountability for the truth. More than anything in this current time, like I need to protect my peace. Like I was with Beck for almost 5 years, and there's a lot of things that they did or said or whatever that I could sit here and be like, well, guess what? Guess what they did? I can also share my side, but I'm not going to.
Now, as you can imagine, this obviously did not go down well. Once again, with the general populace of Gore World, or the Amberverse, whatever you want to call it, this was just seen as even more of a manipulative apology, where it's not really an apology, it's more just Amberlynn admitting to a lot of things, whilst also trying to combat against the things that Beck said about her, whilst, I guess, yeah, also admitting to things. It's a very confusing thing, and as we've discovered throughout this video and retrospective, is that Amberlynn, in every single situation, is extremely paradoxical, if that's a word that I'm using correctly. Pretty much she contradicts herself in every single situation, making situations worse for herself, and this is just another example of her ruining her life by getting on camera and putting out the worst possible video. You have to wonder again, is this rage bait? Is this for content? Is this real? Because shortly after that, she released another response titled My Last Response to Beck. Spoilers alert, it was not her last response to Beck. But yeah, this response is definitely very different to the last responses, which definitely felt more, I guess, combative against Beck, despite, admitting to things here and there. But in this, video, it kind of seems that she's, a bit more apologetic than she was previously. Which, I guess is a good thing and maybe a sign of change in the Amberlynn cycle.
I wasn't the greatest girlfriend. I wasn't the most perfect girlfriend, but I will say I'm not all good. I'm not all bad. And I wasn't that way then either. Like our relationship was definitely complex. And even though it might not be visible to the public or even to Beck in this moment, I have taken accountability for the things that I've done. And in the video, they even stated like, I don't want you to reach out to me. And that's very much why I haven't, because I wanted to respect those boundaries. But they said, I don't want an apology from you. I genuinely feel like Beck deserves an apology for the wrongdoings that I did do. But if they don't want to accept it or hear it, then I have to be okay with that. I'm not going to apologize to the internet. The apology wasn't for you guys. It was for them. I feel like in this situation, like this type of accountability should be handled in private, just like the apology should have. And the sort of discussion that is like happening between back and forth with us, like these things should be happening in private. And it's like when personal matters like this are brought onto like a public platform, I feel like backed up in a corner, like I have to defend myself or I have to say something. But it's like, I'm not going to sit here and go through every single thing that they said, like every single claim, every single this or that, because that is just going to fuel negativity. I truly don't feel like the back and forth is productive for either of us. But if they truly feel like sharing their story is what is going to help them in the long run, then go for it. But I have to genuinely step away. Like I said, I wasn't going to speak about them, and that was standing. But like hearing all of these things being said, it's been hard for me, because it's like I have shown growth in my personal life, and it's hard to like show growth publicly when these are things that like was happening behind the scenes. So publicly, I might look the same to you guys, but I have changed a lot. I am always open for growth and for changing to be a better person every single day. And I want to reflect on the past more, because that actually genuinely helps me see ways that I need to improve and ways that I already have improved.
So yeah, it did kind of feel here that Amberlynn at the end of the day was finally apologizing after making multiple statements not really apologizing to Beck. And now the audience obviously did not really respond well to this. People were just basically calling Amberlynn out for pretty much absolutely everything and just overall calling Amberlynn Reid insane. And it goes back to what I was speaking about towards the beginning of this video, of where it does just kind of feel that Amberlynn no longer has anything. It feels like she's lost everything in her life, whether it's her friends, her partners. She literally has self-destructed in every single situation through her own negative actions and has pushed so many people away from her, and Beck is just another example of that. But again, that's not a justification for any of Amberlynn's actions. That's more of just an observation, because Amberlynn seemingly definitely has done, or at least has been accused of doing, some pretty messed up things in this Beck situation, aside from even the stuff we've already gone through. Because yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Beck accused Amberlynn of stealing their inheritance, which, if true, as I said before, is utterly disgusting and indefensible. And I'm just going to play a clip of where Beck speaks about it now, and it is a bit of a long clip, but you know, you need the full context, and yeah, let's get into it.
She would also be sure to take away any money I'd get from other sources. I mentioned this before, but even being seen collecting change would trigger her to question whether I was saving up to leave her. When my mother passed away, me and my siblings received a portion of a settlement from my dad's job that ended up being around $5,000 to $6,000 for each of us. I was not allowed to keep it. She told me that the money had to go into paying the bills and my half of the rent. My mom had plans for when she would have received that money before she passed away. Getting it was bittersweet, and I would have liked to use it in some way to honor her. She wouldn't have wanted Amber to have it, and it really hurt, but she took it anyway. When I told her that I would like to do something with the money, she dismissed it and treated me like I owed it to her and it wasn't my choice. She said that I couldn't have it because the bills needed to be paid, even though I knew that she was making enough from YouTube to cover bills and rent with no problem.
Now, obviously, if this is true, this is an incredibly disgusting thing that Amberlynn has been accused of. But also, I did just want to interject here and say, regardless of how serious this situation is or any of the other situations surrounding Amberlynn Reid, the reason that I'm speaking about this quite topical thing in a bigger retrospective video is to provide an example of how Amberlynn gets herself into these sorts of situations by falling out with so many of her friends, and also how she horrifically responds to any of these situations. Regardless of if she's right or wrong, she always makes it worse for herself. Sorry, I just needed to clarify on that. And Beck did actually put up a follow-up statement stating, "I saw some people confused in the comments about how she ended up with the money and how she kept it from me. It was a confusing time and I was grieving and I had already been beaten down for a while. Amber didn't just take my check or anything. We had a joint bank account that the settlement was deposited in, and she told me to send it to her for all the things she paid for, the bills, the food, the rent, etc. At first I said no. We fought about it and eventually I caved because she made me felt like I owed it to her. I transferred the money and never saw any of it again." And yeah, these are some pretty heinous allegations, and obviously Amberlynn had to respond to these things, because yes, this did come after all of the other things we've just previously gone through, and yeah, Amberlynn eventually responded behind a paywall. Yes, in this screenshot, Amberlynn confirms that she is willing to share her side, but she only wants to do that on her paid YouTube membership live stream. Ah yes, nothing says authenticity, and believe me, I'm right in these situations, more than putting your response on a paywall. Yes, the absolute peak of authenticity. And yeah, Amberlynn received a lot of backlash for this, and it did lead to her actually stating that she is going to respond in a public live stream, which I guess is a good turn of events. But at the end of the day, regardless of anything that comes out of this situation, I think it is just again another recent situation that just perfectly encapsulates and concludes everything to do with Amberlynn Reid and why, realistically, she is beyond saving at this point. Because as I said before, there is just a new situation every single week with Amberlynn. Whether it's a tragic event or an expose, there is always something going on. And it just feels that in all of these situations, Amberlynn always responds in the worst possible way, whether she is actually right in the situation or not. Because even if she somehow redeemed herself in that situation, at the end of the day, she still put her response, or was going to put a response originally, behind a paywall, and there are also like 4 other responses. It just feels that in every single situation, Amberlynn does the worst possible thing, and you can really only assume that this is all just a part of her rage bait business venture of content and making money, which, as we've seen, does work for her financially, but it is destroying her life. So many of her friends and partners no longer want anything to do with her, as we've seen with Beck, but also as we have seen with her feeder, or at least former feeder partner, Tommy, or whatever you want to call Tommy. Because yeah, Amberlynn recently came out stating that she and Tommy had broken up, which obviously isn't really a shock to any of us, but it's just another example of Amberlynn's lifestyle destroying her life.
Me and Tommy, we broke up today. I already talked about it in the live stream. I don't want to talk about it in the video. But just the hate, the level of it is a lot for one person, and I understand. And I don't want to talk about it since I talked about it in my live stream. So it was the last public live stream I've done. So if you want to go watch, you can go watch that.
I mean, even then, the authenticity is still not there. Oh, I just don't want to talk about this thing which I'm talking about in a YouTube video right now. And if you want me to go into more detail about this thing and another YouTube related thing, then come over to my live stream where you can get me even more money, because live streams are longer than YouTube videos. The constant promotion, the constant monetization and selling of her products, which are her YouTube videos, it is absolutely insane. And whether she is right or wrong in any situation at this point, it really doesn't matter, because she just wants the tragedy and controversy. Yes, she has lost everything and destroyed any future career path and, life opportunity via her reputation, but at least I guess she's getting paid, which really is just the center point of Amberlynn's desires at this point. It's all just really an insane, never-ending, paradoxical cycle of Amberlynn Reid. From the weight loss to ex-partners, to cats going missing, to general exposés, Amberlynn Reid's life can really only be compared to aeroplane turbulence. Because you'll be thinking that you're on a pretty smooth flight, things are going nicely, and then suddenly things change and you're soaring 5,000 feet downwards in the air. The turbulence is crazy, things are shaking, and it's absolutely insane, and suddenly it's fine again, and you're flying normally until the next episode of turbulence. But in that case as well, rather than the turbulence being a negative thing that the pilot may possibly apologize for, no, this is all a packaged thing which you're paying for in this monetized product. Overall, to conclude everything, Amberlynn Reid is just a fascinating individual who has just completely sacrificed everything in the name of the YouTube algorithm. It doesn't matter what week it is or what year it is, as long as she continues to get those 40 to 50,000 views per video, she will continue this cycle. And the interesting thing is the Amberlynn Reid cycle is something that people have tried to repeat on their channels, tried to emulate, but at the end of the day, no one does it better than Amberlynn Reid. I think she knows that this is ruining her life, and I think she understands all of the negative connotations that it brings, but I truly believe that even she doesn't think that she can escape this impossible trap of the Amberlynn Reid cycle. But yes, that is the ending of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you did enjoy. It was a little bit different as it's more of like a retrospective type video, but I really do hope that you like this video, and I would be genuinely really interested to know your thoughts on this, because, I know that a lot of people out there are very critical of Amberlynn, but I would also like to know what you guys think in like a more of an empathetic way of, do you think that Amberlynn started out to get into this position? Do you think that there is some plan where she does all these things deliberately? Please let me know in the comment section. And if you want me to speak about this even more, I do a podcast called Over the Pond with a Beast to Beast, where we speak about Amberlynn quite a lot because just so much happens. And yeah, I would love to know your thoughts, and also if you would go over to my podcast and subscribe to it, that would be amazing. Please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below. I can't speak English, I've been going for way too long, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Bye-bye.